So guys, I've never done soil samples before. I'm borrowing this from a buddy. A friend of mine that was really good at agronomy sent me a map with X's and GPS coordinates. I'm not doing that. Instead, I brought the map out here and I think I've got this positioned right. And so what I'm gonna do is, I think this is the way you do it right here. I think you just go on the map where the X is and then you just take your soil sample. I think this is the way you do it. So right here, yep, that's it, right there. That's how you did it. So now we'll know that that's where this soil sample was taken from, was right there. So like that right there will line up with where that hole is on that map. So guys, I have a map here provided to me by a buddy of mine that likes to do agronomy and is amazing at it. He gave me marks on the map where I should go take soil samples. He actually sent me GPS coordinates of those X's. And in the age of technology, I have a drone that can fly itself. I'm gonna have RTK driving on the tractor. What do? I'm out here winging it and slinging it from the old hip. I'm kind of going off of the neighbors over to the west, looking at the map, being like, well, I'm looking this way, and based on the sun and the moon coming over here, I'm like Magellan out here trying to figure out exactly where I am in this map. But all I'd have to do is open some KML file or some file that he sent me. They would have all of these spots specifically marked with a pin. Dropped. Not what I'm doing. I think I'm in the right field. First off, I'm in the right field. And second off, we're getting soil in buckets, so we'll get to figure out what's going on. Today, what we're doing is we're pulling soil samples. We are trying to figure out what this corn pulled out of this soil last year, so that this year when we go and start applying nitrogen, because this is going to be corn on corn, when we start applying nitrogen and other nutrients that the crop needs, we're not just shooting from the hip. Instead, we have more of an educated guess. So again, I'm using technology, but tonight I'm not. I'm using, like I said, a bucket and a probe, and we are just slinging it off of a map based on my own GPS in my head. So that's where we're at right now. I actually drew the creek on here that's right over there, and that's about as accurate as I can get. So this is like Lewis and Clark right now out here, when we have like SpaceX, NASA stuff that we could be doing, but instead what we're doing is we're using Lewis and Clark. So we're Christopher Columbus out here, and we're gonna think that we're in India when we're actually discovering America. So right here on the probe, it is 6 inches. This is 6 inches and 12 inches. I'm only gonna get a 6-inch depth. Talking to the laboratory over in Kearney, they said to go ahead and pull a core at 6 inches. So what I'm gonna do is just take this core, push down into the ground right here. You can see right there, it is at 6-inch mark. I'm gonna go just a skosh more. I'm gonna pull that back up. That core is right there. I'll go ahead and dump that into the bucket right here. And so yes, that is going to be getting all of the stuff in there. We're going to blend all of that together with all the different spots around here, and that will give us a soil sample right there. That's going to be, they're going to be able to test all of that. So we're in a new area right here. I'm going to go ahead and push this residue aside. You'll see a lot of rocks here if you look at the ground. That is not, we don't have a lot of rocky soil right here. This used to be an area that had some cattle. And so they had some feeding stuff right here. So that's where it's some gravel that was left for a lane. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull a core right here. So I move that residue back. I'm trying to get down to the dirt, and I'm just gonna go ahead and push that down. Hitting gravel, that's what I'm hitting. Hitting compaction, yeah, that's not gonna be a good one because I can't get underneath of that gravel. Okay. So I can't get through this gravel layer that's down there. I'm going to go ahead and throw these cores in there, but it's pretty packed down into there. So I'm going to go ahead, go a little further down in here and do that. So the area we were just at over there had a lot of rocks in it, just because it used to be an old lane to run some cattle that we had feeding here. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and move some of this residue, and it's quite a bit different from a coring standpoint. Again, 6-inch mark is right there. That's how deep I'm going to run the core. I'm going to open up my bucket, and I'm just going to run right here. So you'll see the difference here. I'm going to go like this and go. So that goes down pretty easy there. I'm going to spin it around and pull it back up. So that's what we're going for right there, is that core right there. You know, I'm probably about 8 inches, 7 inches right there. I'm going to go ahead and push this right down into here. And if you feel it, there's still some moisture in that dirt. It's clumping and everything else like that. So there's a little bit of moisture still in that. I don't think I have to go very deep though in order to run out of moisture. So we're in a new area right now with a different soil type. It's a 6814. We're gonna have a total of 7 zones in this field that we're gonna be pulling cores from. This is just down the hill from where we took zone 6, which is up the hill, which was the 6812. But yeah, we're following this map right here that was put together for us. It's just an aerial map with the soil map. The soil lines all drawn out, and then we're just pulling cores from those different areas. So down here in the bottom, the soil's pretty much the same on each side of the creeks. So we have the same on where the level's out here, it's all the same, but coming up this hill right here, it's a different type of soil. So we're gonna pull samples on that. And yeah, like I said, we're gonna pull a handful in order to fill a quart-sized bag in this area right now. I'm gonna kick back some of this residue. And if you look here on this, so this is the corn residue from last year, which is right here. And this has not been tilled up or anything. So this is the corn residue. And you can see a little bit of the bean residue that's left. Some of this smaller stuff here, that's bean residue from 2 years ago that's still out here. And like I said, this blacker soil, if you can see that, that's got a little bit of moisture. We got just a scotia rain the other day. So that kind of helped a little bit, but we still definitely could use some moisture. I think if the drought monitor shows we're still thirsty. Right, so where I'm standing right now is a bare spot. It should not be a bare spot. This should have been planted. Gould Brothers did plant it last year. You can see the tracks from the planter going through here because there's rows on that side and rows on this side. But what happened was the ground was just too moist. The seed didn't germinate. And so we ended up just getting this bare spot. So really we just had weeds that were growing out here. When they came and sprayed it, it ended up taking care of that. So it's just kind of a bare spot. So the rubble or the debris you see sitting here is the bean debris that was left here from the year prior. But yeah, so we're pulling samples down here. So this right down here in the bottom is a 3518 soil type, and it's right here on the flat stuff. So this is 4-row panning around here. The flat stuff you see is all 3518. There's a little bit of a different soil type right over there, but mostly everything you see is the 3518. So all the bottom stuff, but we're pulling 3 different soil samples down here. We're gonna pull one here in the middle. We're pulling one on the west side, and we're pulling one on the east side. And we're going to do those as 3 different soil health assessments to know kind of what's going on each side of those. But they should be a similar soil type, so I'll be curious to see what that soil health assessment tells us. So I'm doing a little bit more an in-depth view of the soil versus just a standard NP and K type of a thing, sulfur, trace minerals, all that stuff. It's going to get into some different profiles of the soil. Also looking at, I'd like to possibly do some cover crops. It'll kind of give me recommendations on cover crop. Also, making sure that I'm utilizing the right amount of nitrogen, not just shoot from the hip. I mean, gun it out here and hope it is here. Instead, knowing exactly how much is already in the soil. The biggest thing I'm trying to get out of this is to know how much this corn took out for nutrients last year. And so that I'm not making just guesses on how much I need to put out for fertilizer. Based on my soil samples last year, I shouldn't need any P and K. But we'll see what that shows this year. With the beans, they're not going to need nitrogen because of the fact that beans don't need nitrogen. But this corn on corn, if this really sucked the nitrogen out of the ground, I might have to supplement quite a bit of nitrogen in these areas right here. But this is what the soils test never lies. So we will know what that is. So that's what we're doing right here. We're going to fill this bucket up with samples down here in the bottom. So this is zone number 3 on my map, which is that 3518. I'm also trying to take the soil sample where I'll be planting this year. So I'm not going to go right down the same rows. Instead, I'm going to be splitting the rows. And so something to look forward to on the 4-row, we're going to be adding some guidance, steering guidance to the Massey. So we're purchased a system out of Oklahoma that will be coming here probably in the next week or so, and we'll be able to have guidance. So I should be able to go straight down these rows and split these rows. So I'm not going to be planting on top of where the corn was last year, but instead I'll be in an area that was not planted last year. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to take my soil samples from the middle of the rows versus right on top of the rows. So see where I'm planting, what the nutrients are in those areas. So again, here's the soil sample. There's the core. I'm gonna, whoops, I didn't mean to get all that chunk in there, but that's okay. And what I'm gonna do here is just kind of get it just to fall in there. And so the difference between what I'm doing and getting it grid sampled, grid sampling is they take the field and every 2.5 acres, it's a block across the whole field, and they go and they pull a core from every 2.5 acres. So therefore, you know, all the way across. Here, I'm pulling a random sample of these different soil types just to kind of get an overall general feel for what's happening. The grid sampling gives me more of an exact, I mean, there's 64, I think is what they end up doing, approximately soil samples that they do across this whole grid or this whole field. And so it's down to, like I said, a lot of the advantage of that is when you do variable rate application of different stuff, you can set your equipment up, which this auto steer system that we're looking at will allow us to do that. But a variable rate for different products, like whether it be fertilizer, whether it be seed, whether it be basically the nutrients the plant needs, I can variable rate that on down in the future. But right now, we're just trying to get an idea of what's going on from a soil perspective, and that's what this little bucket's going to tell us. So we have got the 3 different soil types right now in this middle quadrant right here. This is that zone 6, excuse me, zone 7, zone 6, and zone 3. And so that's what we're going to be. This one's pretty close to being full, so I might end up pulling just 1 or 2 more samples for that one. Zone 6, I'm going to have to go grab, that's the different parts of the field, so I'm not too worried about that one. And then there's zone 6, which is, excuse me, this is zone 7. This is zone 6. So zone 6 is the one that I'm going to be grabbing other parts of the field on. It doesn't help when you write the same number on a 6 and a 7 on the same bucket, but this has got to be zone 7, and this is zone 6. So I'm going to grab my marker here and fix my problem. So this is not zone number 6. So if all of a sudden I get one of these soil samples back and it's like, that doesn't make any sense for that type of soil type, you will know why, because I will be sharing the results with you. But that is number 6, number 7, and number 3. And we are on to the next spot. Whoops, I just hit my map. Yeah, we'll go over here and grab 2 over here and then come back around and grab some over here on 7. And then head over to the other side. Make sure I don't have any that bounce out on me. We'll take these up in the cab with us. So on this map right here that I ripped, we are trying to find that I don't get into this 6794, which I think is going to be down over here. If I line it up with where we're at right now, the neighbor's place we're about in line just a little bit south of this tree line that would be right about here. And so we are going to pull some samples here. It appears that we're still going to be in that 3518 zone. So I'm going to grab some samples out in this area. And then as we go further south, we will get into that 6794, which I think is going to be this little bit of a hill, this little ridge, right? That's right up here. So we'll pull some samples up on that ridge, and then we'll grab some samples here of this, and that will complete this east side of the field. So I'm going to grab some samples. All right, guys. That's a wrap on soil sample in the field. We'll get the results back and I will share those on another video, but this is the process right now. We pull the samples, we put them in a baggies, could have microplastics in the stuff, I don't know, but at the end of the day, we're sending samples off to Ward Labs in Kearney, Nebraska to do a soil health assessment on 7 different areas that we've designed and that we've had in this field that have been outlined by my buddy's map here, and we'll get an overall health assessment of what's going on with this. So follow along, subscribe if you haven't already to see this adventure in 2025 as we're going to be planting ourselves. We're gonna be having the tractor drive itself this year. Well, we'll be in it, but hopefully it's not just driving itself, but we'll be driving it. We'll also be trying to be combining this year. So there's a lot of new things going on the 4-Row Farmer this year. So excited for that. So thanks for watching. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Love to interact with you. Thanks for watching.